Welcome back, everyone. Thanks again for joining us. The Tang gang is in the tank, which is exciting. Got some really beautiful fish, and wanted today to talk about how we got here and why we chose the fish we did and some other details. It's a good idea to have a stocking plan for your fish for your aquarium in advance. And a good place to start when you're trying to decide on which fish to keep is the IUCN Red List. And this stands for the International Union for Conservation of Nature, and it's essentially a database where scientists aggregate data on species. And you can search for your fish. Here I'm putting in purple tang, and it will tell you, it should say least concern. It's a species of least concern, and it might give you some information about the population trend down or if it's stable as well. Now, it's pretty clear in the hobby that we can source every single coral, almost every single coral, as an aquaculture specimen, but when it comes to fish, we're still catching up to the freshwater hobby in terms of aquaculture and tank raising fish. So if we're going to be taking them from the wild, I think it's good to take this extra step to be responsible. You know, we've seen a lot of fisheries close, a lot more regulation internationally in terms of collection of fish, and I think that's a trend that's going to continue in the hobby. And so if we're looking out for the long-term viability of the hobby and long-term accessibility of some of these beautiful fish, take the extra step and do a little bit of research and make sure that you're drawing on species that are healthy in the wild. Now, as you've probably heard, tangs can be problematic in an aquarium because they can be aggressive toward other tangs. And that's essentially because they see other tangs as competition. Tangs are essentially farmers. They will stake out a territory on the reef and defend it from other fish because they allow algae to grow on that patch that they're defending as their territory, and they defend that patch as a food source. So the best thing to do if you can is to add all the tangs at once, which is what we're going to be doing. If you can't do that, then try to add them in increasing size and aggressiveness. So add your largest, most aggressive tang last. So we've gone through and searched all the tangs, and they look like their populations are healthy and we can draw upon them. I want to show you a couple other fish that I wanted to keep that we're not going to be getting. First is the bicolor blenny, which is a pretty ubiquitous fish in the industry, and yet here it says its population is decreasing. Another fish that I absolutely love and have always wanted to keep is the sunburst anthea. A really, really beautiful fish. But if we put it into this database, you'll see that also its population is decreasing. So we're going to avoid that. Now, one of the more kind of infamous stories in the industry is the overcollection of the Bengai cardinal fish. If you put that fish into the database, not unsurprisingly, you'll see that it's actually considered endangered. Now, hopefully we'll see more success stories like this, that the Bengai cardinal fish is actually now being tank raised. And so if you do want one, just make sure you source a tank raised specimen. Some other fish, we're just on Live Aquaria site here that I want to keep, will be the Millinaris wrasse. And then the spot breast angelfish. This is actually a planktonivore, is an open water feeder, so it won't eat your corals. And I really love the female here, the really subtle yellow coloring. Also the yellowhead or pearly jawfish, I might get a pair of these. And then for a little flash of red, the Pacific red striped hogfish. Another wrasse I'd like to keep is McCosker's flasher wrasse, a stunning fish, and kind of an homage to John McCosker, who was an ichthyologist that worked at the Steinhardt Aquarium when I was there. Great scientist and a good guy. So we ordered all the tangs at once from TSM Aquatics, and they were nice enough to kind of coordinate so I could order them all at once. And we got them. They came in great shape. We put them through safety stop, which we would do anyway if we were quarantining them ourselves, and then they went right into the tank. And in addition to the powder blue, the Desjardins, the whitetail bristletooth, and the purple tang, I also got a tank-raised yellow tang. As you probably know, the Hawaiian fisheries closed, at least for now, and so the wild collection of yellow tangs has been suspended. I've also seen tank-raised purple tangs available, though I couldn't find any when I was placing this order, but that is another good option as well. Now, as you'll see, the yellow tangs come in tiny. They're absolutely tiny. They're almost transparent. They're so young. And that proved to be problematic for this tank because the purple tang harassed the yellow tang to death. And it was kind of a calculated risk to do that because I couldn't get a purple tang that was also tank raised and the same size, which would have been ideal. And the yellow tang really held the tone for about the first month. It was getting plenty of food, they were eating, it was fine. There was a little bit of chasing, but there were plenty of hiding spaces, and I really felt, you know, like it was gonna be okay. And then one morning I just found the yellow tang dead up against one of the MP60s, just kind of torn to shreds, and it was pretty sad. It was kind of clear the purple tang had gotten to it. And like a lot of people, I think I get attached to fish, and I really don't like killing things. So it was pretty sad. And I think that's just a cautionary tale about these very, very young, small tank-raised yellow tangs, that they just are a little bit more fragile and susceptible to being bullied because they come in so small. So to end on a higher note, you know, these 4 tangs I really couldn't be happier with. They're absolutely stunning. They're a good quartet, different species, so they are getting along, and I think they're just gonna do good work as the tank goes through more ugly phases. They'll work on the algae and hopefully earn their keep. So beautiful fish, and to get them all at once pre-quarantined, I think is the way to go. So that's it for now. Thanks again for joining us this week, and we'll see you next time.